The day I sat in that cold hospital chair, bald, exhausted, and barely able to lift my hand. My mother looked at me and said, "Stop being so dramatic. You just want attention." My sister laughed. My father left the room. And my husband, the man who swore to love me in sickness and in health, he was already texting someone else. That was the day I stopped crying. Not because the pain went away, but because something inside me went completely quiet. And quiet people, they are the most dangerous ones. My name is Sarah, and today I'm going to tell you exactly what happened when the woman they left to die didn't. Let me take you back 3 years. I was 34 years old. I had a decent job as an accountant, a husband named Daniel, and a family that, on the outside, looked perfectly normal. My mother, Patricia, was the type of woman who always had an opinion about everything. My clothes were wrong. My job wasn't impressive enough. My cooking needed work. And most importantly, in her eyes, I was always overreacting. So when I started losing weight without trying, when the fatigue hit, so hard I could barely get out of bed, when I found the lump, I already knew what she would say. I went to the doctor alone. I sat alone in that sterile white room. And the doctor said the words I had been praying I wouldn't hear. "Sarah, the biopsy results confirm stage 2 breast cancer. We need to begin treatment immediately." I remember staring at the wall behind him, not crying, just processing. I drove home in complete silence. And that evening, I gathered everyone at the dinner table. My husband Daniel, my mother Patricia, my sister Lisa, my father George. I took a breath and said, "I have cancer. I start chemotherapy next week." And do you know what happened? Silence. And then, my mother put down her fork and said, "Sarah, don't be so dramatic." I blinked. "Mom, I just showed you the doctor's report." She waved her hand. "Doctors make mistakes. You've always needed everything to be about you. Remember when you faked that back injury to get out of Lisa's wedding planning? I hadn't faked anything, but that was my family. Everything I experienced was always just me, seeking attention. Chemotherapy is not what movies show you. It is not a sad, beautiful scene with soft lighting and a loving hand to hold. It is violent. It is your body turning against itself. It is vomiting at 3 a.m. on a bathroom floor with no one to hear you. Because no one came. Daniel started working late 3 weeks after my diagnosis. I found out later he was staying at his co-worker Amanda's apartment. He didn't even try to hide it well. My mother called twice in the first month. First call, to ask if I could still help pay for Lisa's bachelorette party. Second call, to tell me I looked terrible in the photo I posted and maybe I should smile more. My father sent one text, "Hope you feel better soon." That was it. The only person who showed up was my elderly neighbor, Mrs. Chun, a 72-year-old woman who barely knew me. She brought soup every Tuesday. She sat with me when the nausea was unbearable. She held my hand during the worst nights. And one evening, when I was at my absolute lowest, hairless, weak, and wondering if any of this was worth fighting for, Mrs. Chun held my face in her hands and said, "Sarah, you are going to survive this. And when you do, you are going to have a beautiful life. I'm going to make sure of it." I didn't know what she meant then. I thought it was just something kind people say. I had no idea. She meant every single word. 14 months later, my oncologist used a word I had replayed in my head 1,000 times during treatment. Remission. I was cancer-free. I sat in my car in the hospital parking lot and sobbed for 20 minutes. Not from sadness, from relief so overwhelming it felt physical. Then I picked up my phone, and I called my mother. She answered on the 3rd ring. "Mom, I'm in remission. The cancer is gone." Brief pause. "Oh, well, it's good. I told you it wasn't that serious. Are you coming to Lisa's baby shower next weekend? We need help with the decorations." I hung up. I called Daniel. Voicemail. I called my father. "That's great, sweetie. I'm in the middle of something." I put my phone down. And right there in that parking lot, something crystallized inside me. These people were never going to change. They were never going to apologize. They were never going to acknowledge what they had done. So I made a decision. I was done waiting for acknowledgement. I was done being angry. I was going to rebuild my entire life. And I was going to do it quietly. Because the best revenge is never a fight. It's a disappearance. followed by a return they never see coming. 3 months into my recovery, Mrs. Chen's health began to decline. She had been hiding her own illness, a heart condition she'd managed alone for years. I visited her every day now, taking care of her the way she had taken care of me. One afternoon, she asked me to sit beside her bed. She took my hand. "Sarah, I need to tell you something. I have no children, no living family, and I have watched you fight harder than anyone I have ever seen in my 72 years. She squeezed my hand. "My attorney is coming tomorrow. I want you there." I tried to protest. She stopped me. "You gave me company when I was lonely. You gave me purpose when I was fading. Let me give you a future." Mrs. Chen passed away 6 weeks later, peacefully, in her sleep, and when I sat in her attorney's office, I learned that Eleanor Chen had not been just a kind old neighbor. She had been the silent owner of 3 commercial properties in the city, a stock portfolio worth significantly over $1 million, and a paid-off house valued at over $800,000. She left everything to me. I walked out of that office and stood on the sidewalk in complete shock. And then I thought about my mother's voice saying, "Stop being so dramatic." And for the first time in 3 years, I smiled. I told no one, not a single person in my family. I quietly divorced Daniel. He didn't fight it. He was already planning to move in with Amanda. Fine. I moved into Mrs. Chen's house, my house now. I hired a property manager for the commercial buildings. I worked with a financial advisor for the portfolio, and I rebuilt myself completely. New city, new circle, new chapter. I went back to school part-time and got my CPA license upgraded. I started a small financial consulting firm. Within 18 months, the properties alone were generating more monthly income than my entire previous yearly salary. I was healthy. I was free. I was genuinely happy. And my family? They had no idea where I was. I had gone completely quiet. No social media. No calls. No updates. To them, I had simply faded away, which is exactly what they had always wanted, until the day everything came crashing down on their side, and they desperately needed the woman they had abandoned, and remembered she existed. It started with Lisa. She called from a number I didn't recognize, probably assuming I'd blocked her original number. I answered, "Sarah, it's me." "Lisa." Long pause. "I need help. Things have been really hard. My husband lost his job, and we have the baby now, and—" "How did you get this number, Lisa?" "Mom found it somehow." "Sarah, please, we just need a small loan. Even $5,000 would. I'll think about it." I hung up. 3 days later, my mother called. Patricia, the woman who told me I was being dramatic while I was losing my hair to chemotherapy. "Sarah, I know we haven't spoken, but family is family. Your father's business is in serious trouble. We might lose the house. I need you to come home." I said nothing for a moment. Then calmly, "I'll be there Sunday." I could hear the relief in her voice. She thought she had her convenient daughter back. She had no idea what Sunday looked like. I arrived Sunday in a car my mother didn't recognize. I wore clothes she'd never seen on me. I walked into that house, the same kitchen where she told me to stop being dramatic, and I sat down at the same table. My mother, my father, Lisa and her husband, everyone present. My mother started immediately. "Thank God you're here. We need at least $40,000 to save the business and—" "Mom." She stopped. "Before we talk about what you need, I want to talk about something first." I placed a folder on the table. Inside, printed and organized, every medical report from my treatment, every unanswered call, Daniel's departure date, time-stamped, and 3 years of absolute silence from every person in that room. I almost died, alone, on a bathroom floor, while you attended baby showers and ignored my calls. The room was silent. I'm not here to fight. I'm not angry anymore. But I need every person in this room to understand exactly what happened and say it out loud. My mother's face went through 5 emotions in 4 seconds. And then, quietly, she said, "We should have been there." It was the closest thing to an apology I was ever going to get from her. I nodded. "I know." Then I closed the folder. "I'm not giving you the $40,000. Gasps around the table. "But—" "I will, however, offer Dad a legitimate business consultation through my firm. At standard rates. If the business is salvageable, we'll save it professionally. If it's not, I'll help you find a path forward." But I am nobody's emergency fund. Not anymore. I stood up. I survived cancer without a single one of you. I built a life without a single one of you. I don't need anything from this family. But if you want a relationship with me, it will be built on honesty. Or not at all. I picked up my bag. Call my office if you want to proceed. And I walked out. No drama. No tears. No shouting. Just a woman who had already won. Leaving a room full of people who were only just beginning to understand what they had lost. My father called the office the next week. We saved the business. Professionally. Properly. Lisa apologized. Genuinely. 6 months later. My mother and I have a relationship now. Small. Careful. Honest. It will never be what it should have been. But neither will I. Because the woman who walked out of that hospital in remission. The woman who sat alone through 14 months of chemotherapy. The woman they called dramatic. She doesn't exist anymore. In her place is someone they don't fully recognize. Someone stronger. Quieter. Completely untouchable. And if you are watching this right now, fighting something alone, being dismissed by the people who should love you most, I want you to hear this clearly. Survive first. Build second. Let them figure out the rest. Because the most powerful thing you can ever do to someone who underestimated you is simply become impossible to ignore. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. And if you want to know what happened with Daniel and Amanda, that story is coming next week. Subscribe. You don't want to miss that one.